Alright, what's good everyone, it's Zigzag here, welcome back to another Geoguessr video. When you watch a competitive game of Geoguessr at the moment, there are only 110 countries included. This is because to date, Google's only sent their cars to 110 countries, leaving about 85 more that have zero coverage and just do not appear in the game. This map, however, as you can see in the description, includes all the countries in the world, and they're all on non-Google coverage, so there will be no metas in this video as well. It's going to be a pure test of Geoguessr skill. Let's see how we go. And the first country here, I'm happy to say, is immediately obvious to me. So we have this type of octagonal metal pole with the dots in it, and this one can be found in numerous countries, but it's easily most common in the Philippines. In addition to that, we've got a round electricity counter. This one's super common in Mexico and Guatemala and Dominican Republic. And to put a nail in the coffin, we've also got these stickers on the pole, which like have phone numbers on them for some ad, but they're so common in the Philippines. Like, it just checks out. These big white bricks are also a good clue for the Philippines as well, and tend to lean you a little bit further north, but can be found anywhere in the country. And beyond that, because we're in a tight space, I think it's going to be quite hard to get an accurate region guess here. I could see it being anywhere from Manila to Davao, to be honest with you. So I think I'll just go in Naga. I think that's a decent guess here. Let's find out. And it was actually just in Manila there, or on the outskirts. So that's 4,000 points, a great start to the seed here. And let's see if the next round is going to be so forgiving as well. We've got yellow filled-in signs. So yellow filled-in signs are found in some countries in Europe. I'd say the most prominent examples are probably just Sweden and Finland, and this definitely looks like one of those two countries. Now, when deciding between the two, I can see a solid line on the outside of the road here. So if that's not lying, that means we should be in Finland. And if we are in Finland, it definitely gives me more of a southern vibe. The trees look very tall and healthy, and there is like a very warm vibe to the round in general. So I think I'll go out like southeastern here, towards the Russian border. Let's go for that now. And okay, it was a really nice guess. It was southern. It was kind of slightly more eastern. Not too much, but you know, it's a great score. 4.5k on this map. We will always take that. And this one, well, even without reading anything, this is an easy round. I mean, this kind of brick architecture is only found in the Pyrenees. And I mean, what are the chances we're not in Andorra here? Most of the significant things that happen inside the Pyrenees, I feel like, are in Andorra. And it does say Pyrenees up there, so I'm feeling pretty good. And this will no doubt be like the central roundabout in Andorra la Vella, I would imagine. We're definitely on a roundabout. We have a southwest exit here, so maybe this one? Do we have a McDonald's there? Should be to our west. I don't see the McDonald's. It's probably this one or what? I actually realized there are quite a lot of big roundabouts in Andorra la Vella. I did not expect there to be this many, but yeah, I mean, I actually can't really be bothered. I'm gonna keep it 100, so I'm just gonna guess here and see if that is the correct one indeed. And okay, it was the next city over. We were in Andorra, but I did not know that El Pas de la Casa is such a big looking town. But okay, there we go. It's a great score, obviously. We're on track for a 23,000 pointer if we can make the next few rounds happen. And I was gonna say this looks like the Gulf states like Qatar, UAE, Oman, but that looks to me like the Saudi Arabian flag. And to be fair, Saudi Arabia makes a lot of sense. Also, I reckon this is Saudi Arabia just because we don't have much English going on. I mean, there might be a tiny bit of Latin script on this sign, but most of it's just in Arabic. And to be fair, Qatar, Bahrain, UAE, they're all using quite a bit of like English on the signs due to historical reasons. Much less prominent in Saudi Arabia, I would say. Okay, so we're on a big highway going northwest here. That obviously fits the grid of Riyadh, which is like a pretty gridded up city here, I think it's fair to say. And we're not too far into the town. It's quite flat here. There's not much high rises, which I think you do have quite a lot of those in Riyadh. So maybe a bit further out here. And we probably have like a hotel here or something. I mean, definitely a findable round with enough time, but I don't know if it's going to be doable for us right now. There are definitely a bunch of options I could see. It does kind of feel like we could be near a university campus, you know. I don't mind this idea here. Maybe looking at the Jumeirah Hotel. And theoretically, if we are here, we'd have a petrol station behind. Not really seeing that, to be honest, but generally speaking, this landscape looks good. We have a ton of hotels here. Does also look like the type of place you'd put a university, and I see one here, so let's check that out. And okay, well, the grid was lying to us. It was actually over here in Arras. I wonder, a lot of these towns are on a similar grid. Are they pointing somehow towards Mecca? Where is Mecca? I thought it was around here somewhere. There's Mecca. Well, Maybe. They could be pointing towards Mecca. Yeah. They actually, I think the grid actually is pointing towards Mecca. That would make sense, right? I think Saudi Arabia is one of the most devout Muslim countries. So I feel like that's why maybe a lot of cities in Saudi Arabia would have that angle. But anyway, we've got the country 4 times in a row. 5 in a row on this map is always an impressive feat, so I'm looking to get that here. We've got blue strips on the plates, which is interesting. My first thought was maybe like Belarus, but I don't think Belarus ever has blue strips on the plates. It's a bit of Europe roulette here. The building on the left-hand side of the road looks quite Western European. The building on the right-hand side of the road looks very Eastern European, which is kind of funny because if you look at the compass, this one's on the west and this one's on the east. But maybe like Lithuania could make sense to me here. I feel like Lithuania is decent. Could even be just Germany though, maybe East Germany or something. I don't know. I think I'm leaning Poland, Lithuania here. Which is better? I guess the fact that it reminded me a bit of Germany makes me want to go Poland here. I'm gonna go right on the border with Lithuania just because it does give me Baltic vibes. Some of these roofs, like this roof especially, would be much more common in the Baltics. Nah, I think I actually do have to go over the border in Lithuania here. Let's see how that goes for us. And it was Lithuania. Let's go. Actually, that makes sense. I feel like these coastal parts have much more of a German influence from like old Prussia and stuff like that. So that makes perfect sense to me. We end up with a 21.8 NMPZ on a match with no meta. I'm pretty happy with that. But we only got 1 rare country, to be fair. Next round here. Ooh, this is fun. Okay, first thought was Japan with, I guess, this kind of like fence. Looks very Japanese. Looks like we have larch trees, which you do see in the northern half of Japan, so that could make sense. And are the cars in the background right? Well, I reckon the white car back here is JDM. That would make sense to me. The first car we see is also boxy, so I feel like this is Japan then, right? I mean, it could also be Korea for sure. I think the trees also make sense for Korea. Could be North or South Korea, although I imagine with a road that looks like this, probably more South Korea. And then I just kind of have to trust the cars here. I feel like they're more Japanese, and I feel like I could definitely be wrong. I think it's one of the two though, and I will go Japan. I have a bad feeling. Oh, yeah, I did actually consider US, guys. And the reason being, I didn't think the drip here looked Japanese at all. And of course it wasn't. But this was a very boxy car, and I'm pretty sure that car is also Japanese. I reckon that's I was thinking it was a Honda or a Mazda. I don't know, but it could also be an American car. Definitely could be. I don't know, man. These trees, they are larches or are they Eastern White Pine? I guess they're actually Eastern White Pine, just kind of low res. It was harder to tell. Ah, on this side, you can actually tell. Okay. They're a bit too, like, densely leafed, I would say. Or densely needled, rather, to be larches, I suppose. But yeah, this was a bit baity. The road, yeah, maybe didn't feel too Japanese. I don't know. I definitely don't hate my guess, but at the end of the day, we are 10,000 kilometers away. We have broken our country streak. It's a shame. Let's continue on though. Okay, next one here. It's always nice to have a license plate to work with. Looks like it's gonna be, I don't know, reminds me of like maybe a South American license plate. It's not an Argentinian license plate, but the landscape almost felt a bit Argentina-like. I'm pretty sure this car is actually a Skoda, which is kind of rare, I feel like. You see there's a lot more in Europe, definitely, than in South America. I don't really remember seeing one in South America, TBH. But look at this fence. This fence is like extremely South American. The house in the background, it's weird, to be fair. It could be African, I guess, but still would have thought more South America here. It could be Mexico, actually. Maybe that would make more sense with the house to be Mexican. And I guess then maybe the Skoda came from the US or something. I don't know. I also thought of Bolivia here. The license plate format, I don't know if it's good for Bolivia, and neither is the house maybe, but the whole rest of the round, like the landscape wise, definitely Bolivia could make sense. I do not know. West, we look at these hills. Mexico, maybe. Honestly, out of any country, it looks like Brazil with the landscape, but I just don't think the number plate makes any sense. So here are my conclusions. I reckon it could be Bolivia. I reckon it could be Venezuela. I reckon it could be Mexico or Guatemala or something like that, or something in Central America. And then there's the off chance that I've completely missed it and we're like in like Lebanon or nah, not that. But okay, locking in for my final guess. I'm actually gonna say, I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna say Guatemala. It's a unique guess. I feel like Guatemala normally looks more tropical though. I will go for Mexico. I will go in Tamaulipas, Mexico, and I'm prepared for it to be South America, but I just hope it's not Bolivia, because Bolivia I kind of ruled out with the house. Let's see. Oh, wow. That looks really Mexican or something. It's actually in Dominican Republic. Wow. Actually, that does make sense with the plate, but normally DR plates are yellow. At least back when they sent the Google car there, they were yellow. So this was maybe like a rare variant or something. Does DR maybe have more trade links with Europe? And that's why we had a Skoda. I don't know, because like in Mexico, I don't think you'd see many. But that's my own thinking there, maybe wrong. Next one here is very interesting. So number plates are of course going to be European with the blue strip. We have interesting apartments here. They almost looked French or something, but the license plates are definitely wrong for France. I think these are Balkan license plates, maybe. They start with an M. I'm wondering if this is actually Bosnia. The road is really poor quality, which you would see in Bosnia quite a bit. And I'm just thinking, like, often in the Balkans, you get this kind of number plate format with the town name at the start. So maybe that's what's going on. Okay, over here it says Kokina, Tipica, and something Bresa. Could fit for Balkan languages, I think, with this CA ending. So maybe the M on the license plate could stand for Mostar. I'm just trying to remember what Bosnian plates looked like when I was over there. I don't recall. I think the language does not look Albanian. Oh, we have fancy lamps. That's also the weird thing here. I mean, yeah, it really does with these fancy lamps look quite a bit like France, which is confusing me because the number plates are definitely wrong. Spain? Maybe it's northern Spain, actually. Tipica. Could it be? Okay, I don't think it's Bosnia anymore. I think in the blue strip, I can only see one letter. And I think on Bosnian ones, they write BIH, which is definitely not one letter. That's 3. So maybe it is just E for Spain. Okay, here's my thing, right? Why would it look so much like France if it was in Eastern Europe? I'm gonna say this is just a really bad quality road in northern Spain. That makes sense of basically everything we want to know here. And I would say if we're looking at like a French style landscape, probably somewhere between where I'm clicked and Andorra and like Barcelona and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go around here in Estella and maybe, oh, could it even be Basque? I don't think so, but maybe. Okay, I'll just go here. Let's see if that's correct. Okay, it was Spain. What was the language there? It was interesting, but it was correct. So that's a good result. We're back on the country streak. This one immediately just strikes me as Russia, right? With the poles, with the general landscape. We do have some birches, so probably a little further north here. I think I'll just slam it with definitely the possibility that this would be Belarus or Ukraine. I can't quite read that. What does it look like? Like, to me, it definitely just looks like this general region here. So that's kind of the same latitude as Belarus. I could definitely see it being there, but I'm going to go in Russia. And it wants to straight over the border in Ukraine there. Makes quite a bit of sense to me, to be honest. Very similar landscape. Honestly, even on normal Geoguessr coverage, I do get the wrong side of the border now and then. So it's a good score, but unfortunately, no country streak. And our final one here, we have Hebrew. So that's going to be easy enough. We have East Mountains. Wait, guys. I'm wondering if we're in the town of Eilat. And we're looking at these mountains over in Jordan. That's my thought here, just because it feels like a big city, and those are very dry mountains in the background, which would be kind of weird unless we were in, yeah, I mean, it doesn't really make sense for anywhere else, I feel. Maybe like Jericho in West Bank? I think we're down here. And what is nice about this town is there are a lot of roundabouts. So that makes me feel honestly pretty good. I'm gonna go for this one here. No particular reason. Just trying to line it up a little bit here. And I feel like it makes a good amount of sense. So let's send it. Okay, we're just a couple of roundabouts over there, but that was Eilat, which is definitely a nice way to end that seed. Let's do one more here and see if we can finish it up with a bang, maybe get a nice streak to end off with here. But this is going to be Germany, and Germany on intersections has the orange reflector, which is something I realized when I went to stay in Germany. And she is enjoying a nice day in a very beautiful place with her dog here. I wonder if it's the husband or something taking the photosphere. If not, if so, then he caught a moment of bliss. I hope he remembers this photosphere fondly. Anyway, I think this is going to be maybe towards the middle of the country. Doesn't give me a particular vibe. Like, the building in the background could almost be like Czech border, but just as easily towards Mannheim, I think. I'll just go towards Mannheim, but wouldn't be surprised about over here as well. And it was down there. Actually, just clicking outside of Baden-Württemberg there, but still a good guess. Okay, next one here. Quite the ambitious photosphere I've noticed with the tripod on the road with oncoming traffic. Immediately struck me as French. I mean, it does say Lahore. I think some of the letters are missing here. Unfortunately, plate's not visible, but just the way this sign is, and honestly, the way the roofs are as well, makes a lot of sense for France. We have a Fiat here. That might be a Citroën. That might be a Hyundai. I'm not really sure, but definitely at least a few French cars in the mix. Weirdly enough, if I'm wrong, it almost feels a bit like Croatian or something like that. I can see Croatia here with the very pale road. You do get that in Croatia quite a lot. But I think all in all, with the language here, Paris or just France in general, seems pretty good to me. I might go Bourges here. It's a nice central hedge. And it was indeed in that central part of France there. We're on a 3 streak now. Let's end it off strong. Ooh, this should be gettable. First thought was Sri Lanka or India with the tiles here on the roof. And yeah, we actually have Hindi on the wall here. So this should be India rather than Sri Lanka. We have coconut palms plus what's potentially Hindi. So I'm thinking it actually might be Marathi and we're actually in Maharashtra here. That would make a good amount of sense to me. Honestly, I might just go for that because yeah, I'm relatively certain with the Hindi, this would just be India. So let's go for it here. And it was actually all the way over. Well, it was Maharashtra, actually. It probably was Marathi, but all the way on the other side of the state. I'm kind of surprised we got coconut palms that far inland, but it does happen sometimes. Okay. And honestly, they were inside a property, so that also makes sense. Next one here, I know it's France because we got this holy pole, which in itself wouldn't guarantee it. But then we have this wooden pole with like this little metal rod at the top. And that just screams French infrastructure to me. So, west coast here, I would say. Maybe around La Rochelle, maybe towards Bordeaux. I don't know. I'll go La Rochelle here, I think. Yeah, that should be good. And it was towards Bordeaux with the architecture there. Not too bad there. Pretty happy with that. But you can see, you know, us Geoguessr pros, we're not too reliant on the Google car meta. A lot of stuff is legit knowledge, I want to say. Anyway, next one here, I think it should just be Iran here. I know Iran uses like French style poles, and this looks so much like Turkey that I feel like this is just the closest neighbor with French infrastructure. I guess Lebanon would be possible here. Lebanon does get snowy sometimes, I believe. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it could be Lebanon. Maybe could be. That's my 50-50 here regardless. I think with the darker soil, the Iran might make more sense. So I'll go for that straight up. And it's even western Iran, so our region guess is pretty good there. We end up with a 20k on what I would say is a pretty straightforward seed. Maybe the Iran being the hardest round there. But guys, we have to continue until I lose my streak, so let's see what we get. This one's harder for sure. The pole infrastructure feels quite American here, but it feels honestly more like a Pacific island. So maybe this would be like Guam or NMI. It honestly looks quite a bit like Guam from what I've seen of Guam. I feel like this does belong to the USA. The houses are really nice and it just has that vibe. Like the road being so wide, I feel like not many countries do roads this wide randomly on like a residential road. So I'm gonna give it a go. And would you know it? It is not the USA, but instead in the Bahamas. So we come to an end there. I was gonna say if we're wrong, it's definitely the Caribbean or most likely the Caribbean, but to be fair, the Pacific Islands and the Caribbean, they're the two that most look similar. So yeah, that's it for the video. Hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know if you want to see more on this map because I always have a blast playing it. Also, if you have any idea of how I can mix it up on this map and do some interesting challenge or something, let me know what you'd like to see. But guys, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I'll see you guys in a video very soon. Till next time, and goodbye.